Knows Best.
Hi friends, welcome back to Brenna Knows Best. I'm your host, Brenna Berg. Hi, how are you guys? I just got done with the run this morning. I haven't even showered. I know that's disgusting, but I'm on a runner's high. You guys, there's really nothing like it, and I get it. Let's talk about it because I put a poll on my Instagram and a lot of people said don't enter your running era. But every single time the weather gets warm, I want to be a runner. And a fun fact, my brother has done marathons, he's done triathlons. He's a runner bitch, okay? He did cross country in high school and he was really good, like really good. I don't know exactly mile times. I want to say that he ran a 5-minute mile. Roughly, is that? No, I think that's accurate because I think to qualify for state, you have to do 5:35. Maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't really matter. I don't know why I'm bragging about my brother, but anyways, he's always been a runner. So for a long time, like I've gotten in and out of running. So the first run I ever did was a 5K back in 2015, I think. And this was a peak Brenna not eating right. She wanted to be skinny. We all know the drill. Then I entered college. Okay, so my freshman year, I had a bachelorette party with my cousin, and one of the girls in the bachelorette parties was like, hey, I'm running the half marathon in Fargo. You should do it. And I didn't even know this bitch. Like, I barely knew this girl. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, why not? And I always talked to my brother about it. I'm like, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And at this time, when I wanted to be skinny, that was like my only goddamn goal, which is so horrible. Okay, so bad. Running, obviously, perfect thing. Cardio, amazing. So I was like, yeah, let me train for a half marathon. So in 2016, May, the end of my freshman year, I ran a half marathon. I did it in 2 hours and 20 minutes, I believe. Not great, not bad. I made the mistake, okay? I asked my brother to run it, right? I was like, do you want to run it with me? Grandma, LaDonna, Gordy, mom and dad. Mom didn't come. Dad can come. Like, we'll just make a weekend of it because also my brother at the time lived in Minneapolis. So he was about a 3-hour drive. And then my hometown is a 3-hour drive. So like meeting in Fargo is like a good middle ground. And my brother loved running. So I was like, let's do it. And I don't know what made me think that my brother would slow down to run with me. Like I really thought, because I knew I was never going to be as fast as him, but I thought like maybe we would do it together. The day of, right, you run, you start at like 7 a.m. We go at like 5:30 to warm up. I'm like, why am I running more when I'm about to do 13 miles? Okay, but there's the science. He's the cross country runner. He knows the drill. Okay, so it's me, him, and Fish, his best friend. And we're warming up, right? And then we get into the dome, the Fargo Dome, which is where it was starting, which is like our huge arena for NDSU football. Anywho, so many people, you're getting to the line. My brother's like, come up, we got to get to the front. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And as soon as him and Fish started going, I'm like, wait, this bitch isn't running with me at all. Like, I think I just made it up in my head that he would be a nice brother and run with me. Nope. As soon as the gun goes off, he's gone. I said, oh my fucking God. I'm going to be running by myself this whole entire time. So thankfully I had headphones at the time. This was like my first ever run. I did that 5K maybe a year prior, but a 5K is like nothing compared to a 13-mile race. And I don't know how I lasted. I did the whole thing by myself, just listening to music. And my brother finished it in an hour and 29 minutes. A half marathon in an hour and 29 minutes. So of course I finished 2 hours and 20 minutes. LaDonna's like, I thought you died. And I'm like, Raymond, just because Brandon can run fast doesn't mean that I can. And also I didn't do bad. Okay. Like I was already feeling like a little insecure in my score. Cause again, it's not bad, but it wasn't good. And they gave me so much shit. And I remember my feet hurt so bad. Like I have really sensitive feet. I wear a 7.5, you guys, maybe an 8. You know how sizes are never the same. And I'm 5'9". So I have like really little feet for my body. You want to know what's even more crazy? My brother, sorry, Brandon, I'm outing you, which I don't think he cares. He's 6'5", so he's a giant, right? He's tiny, like he's skinny because he's always been a runner. But anyways, that doesn't matter. He's 6'5". He wears a 9.5. A 9.5 shoe, and he's 6'5". I don't know what it is. My parents have normal sized feet, I think. So I don't know why me and my brother got such small feet, but he's had stress fractures. He's had feet issues, and I just have really sensitive feet. Like when it comes to certain shoes, and like when I go ice skating or rollerblades, they hurt my feet so bad. So anyways, all I remember is my feet hurting. And then in 2019, I moved to Dallas and I decided, again, I got this like running hair like I do, I guess, all the time. because after the half, I was like, I'm never doing that again. I'm never running again. Like, it was awful. I'm like, that wasn't even fun. Of course, now I'm like, it was an accomplishment. I'm proud of myself. But at the time, I said, fuck that. So years later, right, I'm like, well, what's something I can do? I think my brother poached me with the idea. There's the Medtronic Marathon in Minneapolis in October. They have, like, of course, all of these events always have a 5K, a 10K, half, and a full. So Brandon told me, he was like, hey, would you do like a 10-mile race? So that's less than a half marathon. A half marathon's 13 miles if you're unfamiliar, and a 10-mile race is just 10 miles, right? But at the Medtronic, it's a lottery. So you have to enter and then they pick people. So you don't pay, it's free. You enter, which is actually coming up, and I'm thinking about entering, which is what we're going to talk about. And then, like, I think it's, I don't know, 25% of people get in because so many people apply and then you have to get accepted. Me and my brother both got accepted the first time, or both got picked. I don't really know the terminology. So then I geared up for this 10-mile race in October of 2019. And then my family came, I flew in, and actually it was so great because, well, not so great. I trained here in Dallas, obviously, June, July, August, September, October, the hottest months ever, 100 degrees. I was out there running the best I could. I was working a lot at the time. So I remember my training did not go as planned, especially the month leading up. I think I was working a lot, like 5 different jobs. So I fly in and me and my brother go. Of course, the race starts at like 7. We get up at like 5 a.m. and we're taking the metro or whatever it's called in Minneapolis. They're like DART. They're, what is that? You know, like their train essentially. Me and my brother go there. It is literally, you guys, 33 degrees outside at 5 a.m. 33 degrees. I came from Texas. I'm like, oh my gosh, which in hindsight, like so nice to run in because I'd been training in the heat. So it felt good, but we're sitting there waiting. You don't want to pack a lot of stuff with you because you have nowhere to put it. Like, you know, you show up to the race, they give you your little bib and you're off. So like, I don't even know if I had on a jacket. And the only reason I remember it was 33 degrees is because if it's 32 degrees, which is freezing, technically, obviously, they turn on the heat things at the train station, but because it was 33 degrees, it wasn't on. I said, I'm going to die. So then we got on the train, of course. So then we get there. I remember it started, I think maybe at the Capitol building in St. Paul. I don't quite remember. Don't quote me on that. And you guys don't care. However, we get there, we warm up, and honestly, trying to warm up, I was freezing my tits off. But at 7, when it started, it was probably like 50 degrees. So it felt so good. And I actually ran great. I don't remember my time. And that was that. So that was the last race I did. So I have these moments, and every single year I text my brother. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start running again. And he's like, okay, bitch, I'll believe it when I see it. So I texted him this morning. I ran 2 miles. I feel so good. I ran it in like 23 minutes, but running is running. And I texted Brandon and I was like, hey, just started running again. Are you proud of me? And he said, I think yesterday I had my last run. He's had some knee issues and he's not trying to go to the doctor and spend a lot of money right now, which I understand. So he's just going to be biking. But that's that. So I'm entering my running era. I am trying to make content around it, which I have been. I've been doing really good. And this is another dilemma that I've been having, which I guess I'm just expressing all my grievances to you guys. I'm having like a content dilemma, whereas I love my breakup, dating, relationship content. That shit is so easy. I love that. I love hyping up the girls. I love giving the advice, but I also do love sharing my life. And so I'm trying to find a happy medium, but it's hard on TikTok because now whenever I share anything about like life, I think I'm in this dating and relationship algorithm space, which is totally fine. But obviously I want you guys to see it, and I don't know. So anyways, I've been having a midlife crisis about my content. I've been trying to like do the aesthetic thing. We're getting better. So the running content is something I'm definitely going to be doing like every morning. I think I'm going to go on a run and I'll make content around that, and we'll see what else I get into. Okay. Also, you guys, this week I've been so emotional, and I don't know why. I guess I just had my period, but usually it doesn't last after. Like leading up to the period, I think I'm my most emotional, maybe the first day. But this week, like, I've been feeling so disconnected from Carter, and we've had a lot of conversations about it because he doesn't feel that way. And this has happened, you know, when you like, two things can be true at once. Like, he can feel some way and I can feel a different way. But I'm like, okay, he studies all day long, and then he'll turn something on, and if I'm not interested, I'll read. And honestly, it's my own fault. But then if I'm reading, he's watching. Like, we interact obviously like in between these things, but we haven't had a lot of moments of interaction. Saturday, we went on a walk at White Rock, and I was such a bitch about it because we got started way later than typical. And you know me, I'm up at 6 a.m. I'm like, let's go. And he didn't wake up till later. So I feel so bad. And that was my fault. I was being such a bitch. But anyways, and then, to add on to that, LaDonna texted and my grandpa fell and broke his hip. Oh, that makes me so sad. Just like old people, he's okay. Everything's fine. Obviously, I mean, he's not okay. He broke his hip, but they got him into surgery. I think he's going to get to go home today. But just old people like being so helpless. Like, she texted me, she said, hey, just so you know, and we're at the hospital. This is what's going on. Like, thinking about that happening at home, because LaDonna, you guys, is like 100 pounds. Like, she's tiny. So I just think like him falling, she's feeling helpless, can't do anything, calling the ambulance, like them getting in there. Like, that breaks my heart thinking of them like being so helpless, you know? But anyways, he's okay. Not to like, oh my gosh, dampen the mood, but just old people. And you guys know, LaDonna and Gordy are my light and saviors. And I actually, let's segue into summer plans. So I just booked flights. I'm going home for a week. And honestly, I'm going to hate it while I'm there. Not hate it. Oh, I have such a love-hate with going home. Obviously, I love my family, but I love even more my life here in Dallas and my routine. And I know that's so annoying, but I'm going home, let's say middle July, because I have a family reunion. And originally I was going to fly into South Dakota where the reunion is and then drive back with the family and then spend some time in Bismarck and then come back. However, I booked the flights like 3 nights ago. The next morning is when LaDonna texted me and said Grandpa fell. So I I canceled my flight, and because I wasn't sure now if they're going to be able to go. And I'm like, if they're not going, I'm not fucking going. Even if my dad and his girlfriend go, I'd rather be with them, especially if my grandfather is like not getting around well. Like, I want to spend as much time with them as possible. I love the Bergs, and the family reunion, you guys, is, oh my gosh, do you guys care about this? Yeah, you do. Okay, you do. Please care. The family reunion is the Bergs. So it's Gordy, my grandfather, my dad's dad, his sibling. So Gordy has like, I think originally there were like 10 or 11. I think now there are 8. So it's all my grandpa's siblings. So then think about that, all of their children and their children. So it's like a big thing. And I love this side of the family. Like, they're so fun. Everybody's so nice and easygoing. Like, honestly, I just hang out with all of the old people and play like horseshoes and whatever. And we just hang out at the hotel and run around and whatever. So I would be sad if I didn't go, but if LaDonna and Gordy aren't going, like, my priority obviously is them over my parents. Oh my God, is that so fucked up to say? Because okay, they're not above them, but obviously, not to get a little dark, but like, you get the idea. Like, they are old. So I want to spend as much time with them as I can. So anyways, I canceled my flight. The next day I booked into Bismarck. So I'm flying in and out of Bismarck a Wednesday to a Wednesday. And that way, if they can go, I can drive them. So I think my dad and his girlfriend will drive, and then I can drive LaDonna and Gordy. I don't know if we'd all go together because I'm not sure everybody's plans and if Gordy's feeling up to it. So we drive down on Thursday, be in Rapid City for 3 nights. So until Sunday, drive back Sunday morning, midday, and then immediately, hopefully, if somebody can give me a car, that is my next thing. Do you guys ever go home? If you live flying distance away from home, do your parents have extra vehicles? Like, my dad's a car guy, but he's a car guy in terms of like old cars, and none of them are ever working. And, you know, my mom has her own singular car. So like, I can't take theirs because like, how do they get around? Even though my mom works at home, like if she needs to go to town, typically in years past, my dad always has an extra vehicle, but now I'm not so sure if any of them are working. But hopefully I'll be able to take a car immediately on Sunday and go up to Devil's Lake area, which you guys don't know anything about North Dakota, but my grandma on my mom's side is up there. She turns 90 this year. And then my cousin who has my godchildren. I don't know if you know this. I have godchildren, which doesn't really mean much. And honestly, I'm so sad because I live in Dallas and I don't get to see them that much. But it's Emily's birthday today and I just sent her her birthday gift. Lauren, my cousin, sent me a video. And she's like, straight from her mouth. She said she wanted a rubber ducky. She wanted a Squishmallow and Cheez-Its. So I sent her Cheez-It. I ordered it on Amazon on like Monday or Tuesday, but they live in the middle of fucking nowhere. You guys, if you've ever been to the middle of fucking nowhere, think even worse than that. Like I'm telling you, nothing even close. So even though it was Prime, it's not getting there till next week. Like I literally got Prime on Tuesday. It's not coming until the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I should have known better. I should have ordered it sooner, but that's okay. They get it. But anyway, so when I go home, I'm going to go up and see them. And they live on a good bit of land. They have horses and goats. Well, my whole family has a farm. We all know this. And so I'm going to get to see them. Lauren was like my sister growing up. And I just love her dearly. And she's been with her husband, Zyler, since they were sophomores in high school. And they're almost 30 now. So like forever. And they have 3 kids. 2 of them are my godchildren, but they have 3 total, 2 boys and a girl. And Emily turned 3 today. And then Oliver is the oldest and he was born in 17? So he'll be 7 this year or just turned 7? Oh, 6 maybe? Oh, I don't know. Doesn't matter. And then I'm going to drive back home to Bismarck. I'm going to spend the day with my mom. We need to go to the bank so I can get added to her bank account. And that's that. And then I'm going to fly home. And then last night, Carter and I finally figured out our August plan. So in August, we're going to go up to their Montana house for almost a week. We're bringing May. We're going to bring May. Oh my gosh, you guys. And also, we measured May the other day. So when we were going on our trip in December, our road trip, and then we were flying, it was the first time she was flying just normal, on a normal plane. And she was like 28 pounds. Okay. And I looked back on some videos, you guys, I beefed her the fuck up. And I think it's not my fault. When I originally acquired May, I was watching her. And at the time, like they just told me, hey, 2 scoops a day. They had the scooper. I just listened and it was new to her. And I maybe should have monitored or actually looked how much she should be getting. I made this dog fat as hell. So anyways, Carter put her on a diet. And so American Airlines, they say they don't fly with dogs heavier than 21 pounds. So we were trying to get her down. It definitely didn't get that way. She was like 26 by the time we flew because, we had the road trip and then we flew back. We measured her the other day, you guys, 22 pounds. She was fat as hell. And now I'm like, is she too skinny? Is she going to friggin' fly away if we let her outside? Is the wind just going to take her? She's a skinny bitch. So I'm feeling so bad. I'm like, can we just feed her a little bit more? I know she's healthy. I know. But anyways, we're going to go to Montana for like a good total of 5 days, I think. And then we wanted to go to San Diego after, right? Just to spend time there. And that would be a long time, number one, away from our little May Day, but also expensive to pay somebody to watch her. I have friends, but like over a week, like we're going to be gone from here, I think a minimum, like a week and a half. And so we asked Carter's parents, we're like, okay, is she welcome? Which they have dogs. Like, I don't see why it would have been a problem, but of course they were like, bring her, please. So I need to make sure all the flights, they booked all the flights. They just sent over the itineraries this morning. I actually need to text back Carter's mom and say thank you. But yeah, we're going to Montana, which is going to be so nice. Glacier. And then we are going to go to San Diego for a good, I think, 5 days. And here's the thing. Carter's parents are going to meet us in Montana. So we'll be in Montana by ourselves for like a good 3 days, which will be so nice. And then his parents are going to come up and then we're going to fly to San Diego. His parents are going to still be in Montana. So then we're going to be in San Diego at the house by ourselves, which is so nice, which I love his parents. And oh my gosh. Okay. Let's not get this twisted. But obviously it's just so nice to like have it be me and Carter, even, you know, being with my family for a long time is like so much. So that's wonderful. What else? Oh, somebody asked me 4th of July plans. And I kind of wanted to talk about this because I don't know. I feel like it was a big part of my childhood growing up. And I don't want to give too much detail, but I hate the 4th of July. Not hate. I think it's like a fun time, but I hate fireworks. I hate fireworks. And my cousin Lauren was in a horrible firework accident when she was like 13 years old, which I'm not going to get into that because that's her personal life. But I spent a lot of my childhood 4th of July's then because she's like 4 years older. So I was like 9 at that time. So growing up, I would go out there in the summer and we wouldn't do anything. And obviously she was super traumatized because she spent so much time in the hospital and like getting through that. And honestly, like even prior to that, like they're so loud and it's the same goddamn thing every time. Like I just cannot get behind it. And especially after that, spending it with her, like I just like don't really love fireworks. So the 4th of July has always been weird. And also you guys know I don't drink and it's just like a huge drinking weekend, which me and Carter got invited to one of my very best friends' lake house, who I used to go all the time to in summers past. And in 2021, 4th of July, I got invited out there. So my best friend, it's his family's lake house. Like houses, there's multiple. And one of his friends that he had just made said, why don't we like have a huge shebang? Like let's fly people in, let's party it up, let's have a great weekend. And I was so single at this time. It was like the most fun weekend of my life. So there were like 30 of us out at the lake, people flying in from Chicago, from Iowa, from all over. I'd never met any of these people at the time. My only connect was my friend whose family owned the lake house because he had lived here. This is May's previous owner. Okay. So we were out there for like 3 days and it was so funny, you guys. I remember these girls pulled up. Like it was such a great crew. There was a few people I was like, there were some girls, like influencer girls, which who the fuck am I to be talking? But you know the type, like the filming of everything, the selfies, the like perfect pictures. I was like, oh my gosh, can we just like enjoy it? Oh, we would pray before we would eat. It's just like a thing that they do in the family. So my friend like obviously keeps that going. So we all stand around the food, like all 30 of us in the living room or around the kitchen island. The girls are like filming like and then posting on their story and like praying before dinner. Like don't do that. Don't do that. It's weird. It's weird. So anyways, there were some people that I was like, okay, staying away from them. However, in one of the guest houses or one of the houses, so you walk in, there's a huge common area, like a pool table, its own kitchen. To the right, there's a separate bedroom, okay, and then an attached bath. And I think a couple stayed in there. And then to the left, there's 2 rooms, okay, with a bathroom in the middle. But the 2 rooms have bunks, and then above the bunks are stairs that lead up to a room at the top. So my friend put me and now my good friend Jen up there. I didn't know her at the time. This was the first time I met her. She was from Chicago. She still lives in Chicago. And we got put up there because like, I don't know, it just worked out that way. There were like certain groups and then there were other people at the other house, but we were up at the top. Well, every single night, you guys. So we would be out on the lake all day long. Maydog was there. Oh my gosh. I swear to God, she had the best weekend of her life too. And then we would eat dinner and then people would start like the drinking games. And of course at like 8:30, I would sneak away. I would Irish goodbye. I said, gotta go. And I would go up to the top and I would go to bed. And I remember every single night people would come up there and they were pulling at my legs to come back down. I'm like, the party is just fine without me. I swear to God, the party is doing just fine without me. You don't need me there. And also, I'm going to be cranky as fuck. You don't want me there. So I'd go to bed, but then I'm getting up early. And I remember the first day I got up at like 6 a.m. Nobody's up, right? I'm like, how the fuck do I get down? Because there were bunks, right? So I remember climbing down and then I got to the bed, stepped right on my friend Luke's head. He must have been so hungover that he didn't even acknowledge it. I literally stepped on his head. I said, oops. So then I stepped around. I finally climbed down. Maybe he like groaned or something. You know, I'm sure people heard me. I was really trying. And then I went and sat out on the dock for a while until people got up. I was drinking Celsiuses the whole time because this was a moment too. Like I just, again, not to shame people that drink. I just like don't do it really. And so everybody was giving me such a hard time because I just brought like a shit ton of Celsiuses. So I was always holding something, and it looked like it was a, you know, seltzer or something. So whatever, it was fine. But it was like so much fun. It was honestly one of the best weekends ever. I met some really great people that I've kept in touch with. And they're all still, you know, there was like their own little pockets of friend groups. But that friend just texted me this week and was like, hey, do you and Carter want to come out the weekend after the 4th, which is when I'm going home for the family reunion? We're doing another weekend. And honestly, okay, Gare, if you're listening to this, you know I love you and you know that like this isn't mean of me to say. I don't know if I could do that again. Like all of the people staying out there for days on end, like I don't know if I'm too old for it, but I just am such a recluse and I need my own space and own time. And like, even if I was here, maybe I would drive out for like a day because it would be fun. God, I'm such like a lame grandma. But do you get what I'm saying? Like to be stuck somewhere. I remember going into that weekend, I was like, okay, here goes nothing. Like, let's hope for the best. You're never going to get a moment to yourself. You know, like being around people. At that time, I didn't know the personalities, but that's a lot. Like I'm just not that bitch anymore. So anyways, I can't go, which is unfortunate. And I wish that Carter could at least come out for a day. Like the lake is so nice and the boat and the jetting, but jet skiing, we'll do that in Montana and that'll be nice. And that is most of our summer plans. I think I'm still going to book us a trip to Minneapolis, maybe early August to go see my brother. TBD, still figuring that out. What else do I have to update you guys on? Library card. Yesterday I submitted for a library card and it was like, okay, you got to go into the branch and get it. This morning I got an email and they're like, hey, if you want an e-card, which I'm not even sure that's what I want. They said, just send us your photo ID and then we can send you a login. But I think for Libby, which is the app where you can rent ebooks, I believe, you guys know better than I do, I can just log into there with this, like, they gave me a pin and a number and everything. So I'm going to try that after this. I don't have a Kindle. I think I'm going to get one. I have an iPad, but I know on your eyes, I think people don't recommend that, or like that's why the Kindle happened, because it doesn't reflect or it doesn't have the same screen technology that an iPad does, if you feel what I'm feeling. Okay, I went to Half Price Books a little bit earlier this week, I think. The first or last book, Darkest Fear by Harlan Coben. It was a great book. I loved it. I might get more of his. They are older, but they're quick, easy reads. I know it's not like trendy, but anyways, okay. Then I read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. You guys know I love Lucy Foley. Oh, on Instagram, I asked people this week like what we're loving about the pod, and everybody gave me such good feedback. There were a few people that were like, the book updates I don't love because they don't read, so I'm gonna try and swift through them. Lucy Foley, my bitch. Love. Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley will always be my fave because it was the first one and I was so mind blown. Now I get her style of writing, which it's still good. I still love the mystery and like finding out all the details, but the Paris Apartment has my heart. Okay. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Y'all, obsessed. The other night, I literally stayed up until 11 p.m. Like, I could not put it down. I was on page like 200 and it ends at like 300. I was like, oh, I need to finish. I was so shook. You know, in like mystery, like in Frida books or any sort of mystery, like at the moment when you're like, wait, and then you have to go back and reread and you're like, oh my freaking God, how did I not put this together? But there's no way you would have known at all. Like there's no way you should have known, but then you like go back and read. I'm like, oh my gosh, loved that book. And then I haven't actually started this book, but I picked it up too. These are the 3 books I got at Half Price Books. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. So I'm going to start this tonight. I've heard like this is life-changing, so I'm super excited about that. I'm going to have to go to Half Price Books again and get more. But also, if I have this e-card, I'm going to go on Libby today and see. So I don't know what books I'll be reading this following week, but definitely Then She Was Gone. And then I'll have an update next week about the Kindle situation. Okay, product of the week. This is like so basic and so annoying, and I think maybe all of my products are. My Lululemon belt bag. I got this as a gift like 2 or 3 years ago for my birthday. Not only now, y'all, this is kind of sweaty from my run this morning. Maybe I should get another one that I wear for running and one that I wear for leisure. In the summertime, well, I guess it depends. My skirts do have pockets, but I just love the belt bag, like having it across from you. And actually, I've been wearing it across my waist like a fanny pack. When it's up over my shoulder, I liked that for a moment, but then it always slides down under my armpit, and then it's like I'm constantly moving it. So I've been wearing it around my waist, and I just have cash, an extra pony, my Octo Buddy, my headphones, pepper spray, of course. Carter, love you. Always got my pepper spray on me. But my Lululemon belt bag honestly changed my life. You can get one, I'm sure, on Amazon, but this thing, like literally I use it every single day, especially now when I'm running, just to have my necessities if I need them, and putting my phone in there. So nice. Okay, next, let's talk about the things I watched. I'm going to do TikToks, but also just like anything that I watched on TV, any sort of media. Number one, Carter had us watch Avatar the other day, but not the first one. I think it was the second one, maybe the third. Is there a third? I don't know anything about Avatar, but Carter was explaining to me, and no hate, no shade, how when the first one came out and I Googled it, there was this thing called post-Avatar depression syndrome. I think literally people watched the Avatar movie and like wanted to so badly live in like this Avatar world or something, or they just felt so connected that they were depressed after. Literally, PADS is what it's called. Are you kidding me? I don't know. I watched the second one, so I didn't really understand like the whole jive of it. I wasn't really feeling it, and maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I don't know anything about the first one, but I thought that was the craziest shit I've ever heard from watching a movie. Like, I just didn't feel it was that moving. And the blue people, the avatars themselves, are kind of creepy. But we watched that. We also started watching Succession, kind of. I think maybe we made it through 1 or 2 episodes the other night. Carter's been watching The Sopranos. He was like, we need to watch this. It's like a classic. Like, people talk about it all the time. I'm not feeling it. I don't like the style that it is in. It like... It's just so random how all of a sudden like somebody will be getting killed because he's like a mob boss guy, but then he's like in his therapy session and then he's with his wife. Like, I don't know. It's just like not something. I'm not like grabbing at the edge of my seat for the next episode, but Carter is. So he's been turning that on recently. So then I've just been reading. But something I did want to talk to you guys about, I watch a podcast called The Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett, and it is a lot of different things. Like, I think at first he wanted to talk to like CEOs and business people and just like how they got successful, and that like has always intrigued me. However, now he has like more. For example, the episode that I watched yesterday was Dr. Natalie Crawford. She is a pregnancy doctor, and I think she's based out of Austin, Texas, actually. But this episode was so interesting. And if you're anything like me, especially recently with the whole birth control situation and just like obviously the state of union with abortions and just like women's rights and everything, I think also with Carter, like we talk about having children eventually. So like just being in the know of everything, and how infertility is up and people like a lot of people have miscarriages and all these horrible things, but like knowing the science behind it, that intrigues me. So I watched this, and she was so articulate and so good at explaining everything and like how everything works. And maybe I just never paid enough attention, but like obviously I know all of the things like the eggs and the ovaries, but like really deeply understanding. It just came out a couple of days ago. Yeah, I don't remember the episode name, but it's The Diary of a CEO, Natalie Crawford. If you are interested in that kind of thing, I loved the episode, and she talked about things that can affect infertility and trying for a baby and, when you lose your period and like all sorts of things. PCOS, endometriosis, like so many different things that happen to a lot of girls when they're trying to get pregnant and what that looks like. Loved it. And lastly, TikTok. I love Sabrina Carpenter and I love this new song. It is the only song that's been on my For You page. Every single time I open it, please, 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 don't you? I don't even know the words. I'm going to lose my goddamn mind. It's great. But I haven't heard a song on TikTok like that since Driver's License. Do you remember when Driver's License came out and it was just like everywhere, every video? That's what's happening with Please, Please, Please. And it's a good song and I'm liking it. I'm loving it. I love that it's like kind of giving like an 80s vibe. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if that's the right time frame, but that's the vibes that it gives me. Okay, let's get into the topic. Honestly, this is kind of like a loosely thought out episode. I wanted to talk about something that y'all can relate to. And I got a question and I couldn't find it again in my DMs, but somebody asked me to talk about dating app fatigue. Okay, like being on the dating apps and just being so burnt out and wanting to delete them and like how to overcome that and just everything having to do with that. And it is real. Like dating app fatigue, burnout is so real, but I think it can be so dangerous because I think when you're on the apps for so long and when you have the same, they're like zoo animals that you're keeping track of. It's like literally an app where you have all of these men in your connections and it's like trying to get conversations going. Like it makes us feel so shitty. Like dating apps can be a wonderful thing, but they can also be so horrible. So if you're in a place where it's like taking a toll on you, I think always, always, always you can just delete them. I wouldn't recommend deleting your account because do you know every single time you delete your account, you come on, you see the same men. You're like, oh, you're still here? Like, I hate that. I think it's better to just like delete the apps, get off of them for a little bit. Or at the, like if you can just like get off of them and not pick them up again, do that for a little bit. If it's like really affecting your mental health and how you feel about yourself, and that's a real thing. Like once you have so many like bad experiences or men that aren't initiating and like just disencouraging things, we start to internalize it. We're like, what's wrong with us? Like, is my profile not good? Like, no, there are so many things that go into it and it's just like part of the game. So if you need to take a break, take a break. Like literally nothing's going to happen in that time. You're not going to lose all your matches. The perfect guy isn't just going to like fall before your eyes. Like you can always take a break. I think if you just feel like meh on them, a few things I would recommend is number one, silence your notifications. And honestly, I've always done that. I don't have notifications on anything, on Instagram, on TikTok, I never did it with dating apps. Like I don't want to be bombarded with that. I want to choose when I go on the app. But also, I think it's good to only allot yourself so much time to be on the apps. I think if you spend so much time scrolling and looking at the conversations, like that also like feeds into like, oh my gosh, there's such shitty men. Like nobody's starting a conversation. Oh, well, I really was hopeful for this one guy, but he hasn't messaged me. Like I think maybe allotting 30 minutes at the end of the day, maybe 15 minutes to swipe and 15 minutes to like answer replies and then getting off of it because it's easy to be consumed by it and it's easy to treat it almost like a social media app. Like it is fun at times to like go through and look at the people and like what's that called when they're in the little box? They're like the rose people, rose jail. They put all the hot ones in there. Like just going through that, nothing's going to change like until the next day. So I think minimizing your time, not getting notifications because that number one will prompt you to get on there. And also like during the day, subconsciously, if you haven't gotten any notifications, you're like, oh my gosh, like no guys are messaging me. No guys are matching me. Like I think that's toxic. So only allowing when you choose to go on there, if that makes sense. I also would recommend, I think, keeping it to one dating app. Like I only used Hinge. I wasn't on Tinder and Bumble in years past. Yes. But when I was dating Carter and then the year prior, I only used Hinge. I think also when you have so many different apps and so many different people and so many different things to juggle, it can be overwhelming. And all of the same people are on there. Like, again, I don't think that you're going to miss out. And I personally just recommend Hinge the most. You guys know I hate Bumble. I hate women have to message first. I hate everything about it. Tinder also, I think is just more hookup-y. If that's what you're looking for, go ahead. But if you're really looking to date, I just think Hinge is the solid one. And I think it has the best matches. And I know what you're saying. No, it doesn't. They all suck. It comes and goes in waves. Okay, I met my Carter and it only takes one. Like, let me remind you, yes, you have to go through horrible, horrible men and you're like, oh my gosh, and like the messaging, but then it just takes like one. And also with that, I guess these are just my tips for like navigating apps in general, like really being picky about who you're matching with. If you're matching with every Jim, John, and Joe, like, number one, in your message box, it's going to be so overwhelming. Like, so many men, if they do message like, hey, da, 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 like, it's just, I don't think that's healthy. I think really trying to be selective in who you're picking can help also with the overwhelmingness. And also, like, when I remember I started dating Carter, like at that time, I didn't have that many messages. So when I would go on the app, I would go through the men that had matched me. I'd maybe click through the swiping of, you know, who's on my not matched with me, whatever that main page is. But then I only had so many matches. So I would only have like one or two messages from men a day. So it was like less overwhelming. And maybe you find that discouraging because I think I said disencouraging earlier. You guys, don't judge me. Discouraging because you're like, oh my gosh, I only have this one person. But I think that will cultivate hopefully better matches. Like if you are more selective, and the goal on an app is not to match with everybody. If you wanted to match with everybody, you can, like you could. I do believe that. So you really hold the power, and you should really only match with guys that, like, from their profile, obviously you're not seeing everything and they're only putting their best light, but the things that you can look at and control, matching with guys that seem to fit like your vibe, you know, whether it's you like to hike and they have hiking photos, or like, if, again, I talk about the same things, but when I would see guys like with photos at a bar or club, I'm like, no. And I know that that doesn't necessarily mean they go out all the time, but I still just like, I didn't think that my person would have that photo on their app. Like really trying to think like, my dream guy or the guys that I want to date, like what would they be cultivating? Maybe they look a little dorky on their app. Like Carter, for instance, I don't know if I still have the screen recording, but he had one in the mountains. He had one when he played football in college. He had one with a friend. He had one just like at a concert. And then I'm trying to think what else. And I was like, okay, I like that. Like there was none like in the club. There was none like him flexing in front of a car like that. I just was never about that kind of thing. So I think trying to match with quality people for what you're looking for, I think avoiding small talk, like genuinely, if a man says, what's up? Like, no. A man can, from a profile, deduce like enough to ask a conversation or make a conversation about something from your profile. If he's saying, what's up? This man, I know for a fact, is just going through all of his matches. What's up? What's up? What's up? Like, it is not hard to say what's up. And I promise you that's why he's doing it. Like, don't even give those men the time of day. Like, you want a man that actually looks at your profile, sees a prompt, and makes a conversation from that. Like, again, and I hate to like use Carter. I know every guy isn't like this, but I do think like if you put your foot down and say, yeah, like I don't want just a guy that's half-assing and like saying what's up to every girl that he messages. Like that is so low effort. Okay. At the bare minimum, like a man should be able to start a conversation with the prompt. And I think that's good. And I think that's the guy you should be going for. So yes, it's going to, number one, dwindle. Like I would match with, let's say 10 guys, 7 of them don't even message. So goodbye. One of them would say, what's up? And then there's 2. And I know like, you're like, oh my gosh, none of these guys I'm even matching with, but you just have to be patient. Like we shouldn't be in a rush to find our person. And I know it's easier said than done, especially for me being taken and like having Carter. So I know it's so annoying, but I think it's better to be patient and then only end up on dates that are really good. You can still like then focus on yourself and your own life and your friendships. Even if you really want a boyfriend, I get it, but it'll be worth it in the long run rather than going on dates with every single guy that might not be a good match. And then you have horrible dates, which also horrible dates are still good because you learn so much about yourself. Like every single date you go on and every single person that you meet, you see different qualities in people and you're like, ooh, I didn't like that, or I did like that. Like even a horrible date, like you can learn something from it. I think shifting our mind, like so many women out there, like dating apps suck. Like all of these dates suck. Men suck. Like you can view it that way, but it's not helpful and it's not going to help you have positive experiences, because then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, here goes another one. Like, this is going to suck. I think trying to be as positive as you can on the apps. And I know it's hard. And when you have date after date where they're just like duds, but you're always learning. Okay. I think you're getting closer to finding your person. You're learning more about men and what you do and do not like really trying to just be positive and know, like, thankfully you can go on dates. And then also, okay, you can still meet people in the wild. It always feels like it's one way or another, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, if you also want to meet people in the wild, like, go out and talk to people. Like, it doesn't just have to be on the apps, and you don't have to delete them if you want to go and meet somebody in the wild. But to meet somebody in the wild, I've talked about this a million times, like, you just have to start speaking to people. You have to like make a joke or point out something to somebody, or just like be bold and go up. Like, it doesn't need to be one or the other. So I think like making sure, yeah, go out with friends, like do things, put yourself in situations where you can meet people. But dating apps are supposed to be like a positive, like a helpful thing. And they were for me. Like, it literally just took one. It took Carter. And like, I mentioned this last week, how we would not have met if not for the apps. So I know I've been there months and months and months. It's discouraging. But again, like, just reminding you that it shouldn't be easy to find your person. Like, it shouldn't. You're going to have to meet a lot of people. You're going to have to go on a lot of dates. But trying to be positive and learning things about yourself. And if you are really struggling, like it's taking a toll on your mental health, like just take a break. You can always take a break. You're not just going to all of a sudden, the guy of your dreams is not just going to all of a sudden be on the apps when you're off. Like, everything is working out how it's supposed to. Just take care of yourself. So if you need to stop, spend time with yourself, with your friends, do that. Like, nobody's making you be on the apps. But also, like, they're supposed to just be a tool to meet people. Like, that's how I view it. I would always I would go on a date. I never ever was like, oh my God, this is going to be my boyfriend. I'm like, I'm going to make a friend. Like, I always picked the fun looking guys. That way it was always a fun date. Like 95% of the dates I've been on in my lifetime were fun, because I just picked like good looking, fun, normal guys, and they were great. And no, was I attracted to them, and did it turn out into a relationship? No, most of them aren't going to. Most of them shouldn't. But it was still a good time. And then I learned, like, oh, I do like this about a person, or I don't like this. But at least I was learning something. And on, meeting people, I think it is a numbers game. I think if you just went on one date and that was your person, that would be kind of crazy. Could it happen? Yes. But you know what I'm saying? So I think just staying positive the best you can is my advice. The last thing I'll say is like cleaning out your dating app. Like, if there are men, which Hinge, I think after like 2 weeks, like puts them in this other area where they're not on your page. But when there are so many, it can be so overwhelming. So like, if guys hadn't messaged, I would just unmatch them. I'm like, okay, this is never going to go anywhere if he hasn't messaged in 2 weeks. Keeping that, I think the clutter, that was something for me that was like important, because if we're not talking, like, what the fuck are we doing sitting here? What, on some random 3 weeks later when he's, still on and off with his ex and he's down, he says, what's up? Like, I feel like that's exactly what those guys are. I would just keep my inbox as clear as possible. But that's my advice on that. Okay, we're going to answer some questions. I got asked, what are your thoughts on sharing locations? Every single boyfriend prior to Carter, I shared locations with, and it was super healthy and normal. And it was so nice. Like, let's say they were doing something and I could track. I also have my best friends in the nanny fam on locations. I used to use it way more. I recently don't, but me and Carter don't. I think it's healthy. I think it's normal. But it just depends on what you think and what your partner and you agree on. But yeah, me and Carter do not. I mean, I guess I always know where he is. And like, not that that was ever the reason prior in relationships, but it was, I don't know. It can be a positive thing, but it can also be a negative thing. If you're like a psychopath, like I used to check it probably an unhealthy amount for no good reason. Not like I thought my exes were cheating, but just like to see that they were where they were. It was almost like a habit to pull it up, but it's whatever you and your partner agree on. I have no like big thoughts. And I know that for people that use Snapchat, I think Snapchat can have location. So if you just like use that, that's already done. But find my friends, like, I feel eventually, maybe when we're married, I think probably, maybe not. I mean, what's the difference? I know he's at work. I don't know. I guess my thoughts have changed. I used to think it was like a really good thing, but now I don't care. And we also live together, which is different from any exes in the past. So like we're literally always together. I take him to school and I come back. So that's my thoughts on that. Okay. Somebody asked my thoughts on age gaps in dating. She said, I'm almost 23 and can't tell what's weird and what's not. Okay. I totally get that. I remember dating in that time period too. For me personally, and this is again, everybody's individual opinion. Like I would go on dates and there's a difference. Like to go on a date, I remember at one time I went on a date with a guy in his 30s. Would that man probably have become my boyfriend? No. And I think I knew that going in, but it was like fun and whatever. To seriously date, I felt like for myself in that time period, I would have said like 28, like 5 years. But again, this is personal opinion. And I just would straight up never date guys younger. That is just a rule I've had my whole life. I did it one time in 2021, horrible mistake. But he lived out of town. So like it was this like fun little fling, but I would just say whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, that's completely individual, but for me personally, but as you get older, like now, let's say if I was dating, I would say probably I'm 27. I'd probably say like 35, but it's just like, it's a feel. It's just like what you're comfortable with. And I also think that every man is different. Like a 35-year-old, there can be so many different kinds of 35-year-olds. There can be a divorced 35-year-old and there can be a 35-year-old that's been single. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I actually went on a double date once. Oh my gosh, with my roommate at the time and her boyfriend. And then it was a guy that he trained. This man was literally like 40 years old. I don't think he had kids, but I think he had been married. But like when we tried to speak, it was so clear that like, number one, we had nothing in common. This man had lived, like he was like almost 20 years older than me, had lived a complete life. Like as long as I had been on earth, like he had started college at the time. Like it was so obvious that he was just like far too old. He was super nice. It was like fun, but that was that. He had just wanted to go on a date and I said yes, but yeah, it's all up to you, obviously. Okay, somebody asked me, would you and Carter ever get Maydog a sibling? Yeah. However, my only problem is having a puppy in an apartment. Like Frenchers are the best apartment dogs, no doubt in my mind about it. But having a puppy, like we really, if we are lucky and blessed enough, could potentially get a house next year, depending on the market, depending on our savings, depending on a lot of things. That is our goal. So I don't think within the next year we would do it, just in case. Like Frenchers are expensive. And I think from here on out, we'll only get French bulldogs. So, which I know is so like annoying, but they are the best. She's the best. You guys, we just love her. She's sitting here on the couch sleeping. So maybe, I don't know, but I do go on puppy websites all the time and look, and then we oogle and Google. Oh my gosh. I would love to right now, don't get me wrong, but the practical person in me, but also Maydog is 7 at this point. So like, oh my gosh, would a puppy wear her out? I don't know. Maybe, probably. But yeah, I told Carter that he should propose with a Frencher puppy. So maybe, oh no, that's this year probably. People always ask me our timeline. Carter, has to make money. Like he doesn't have money right now. Obviously he has the savings, but like getting a ring is expensive. So if I had to guess, it'd be end of this year, early next. But I did once jokingly say he should propose with the Frencher. Can you imagine? But that would be expensive. Like these little bitches, I think Maydog was $3,500 in 2017. I don't even know what they are now. But anyways, yeah, we would love that. I hate that conversation because yeah, of course I would want that. Duh. Somebody asked me, a friend that starts to talk to a guy after y'all stop talking. Not a friend, right? Yeah, no. I would say no. That's weird. That's weird. Somebody asked me how I manage my time, like reading, walking, content. To be fucking for real, I have a lot of time. Like, let's be honest, I don't have a normal 9-to-5 job and I'm so lucky. I say I'm lucky and blessed, but also I don't want to negate the fact that I worked so hard for so many years to save up money to put myself in a position to do this. Like, I get it. Influencers, content creators, the work is not hard. It might not even take a lot of time depending on the content. I'm with you. I get that. I'm aware of that because I've had real jobs where I have to be there and do stupid grunt work. I get it. But also I when I think about this and when people have this conversation, I'm like, okay, but I also put in a lot of time and effort and to like I've had real jobs, you know? Anyways, I don't need to go into that topic, but I do have a lot of time. But really, it's just like my day to day. I get up now. I've been going outside and I'm going to be a runner. So I get up at 6. And I used to, though, go and walk and read at the same time, which is such a great life hack on the treadmill. Come up, take Carter to school, film while he's gone. He's been staying until like 1:30, and then I go and pick him up, come back. I do groceries and those kind of runs whenever, but like with content, obviously it's so glorious that I can do it on my free time whenever I need. So it's really easy. And then, yeah, when Carter's done studying at like 6, we eat, watch something, or I'll read, and then I go to bed at 9. Like, it would be ignorant of me to say, like, just find time for people that have normal 9 to 5 jobs, like to squeeze in all of those things. It's not easy if you have kids. Like, obviously, I'm blessed. Also, this moment in time is like so special because Carter mentioned the other day, he was like, what if you were still nannying? And it was amazing and whatever. However, like I was gone in the morning, obviously taking them to school, and then Carter was going to class, or right now he'd be studying, and then I'd be there in the afternoon, evening. So like being able to not do that is such a blessing. Again, I thankfully put myself in a position to be able to do that. However, Carter's going to start working in September, which is like less than 3 months away. And then he's going to be gone all the time. He's going to be working from 8 until who knows, which I am excited for my alone time. And then I can film so much. Like I can film my day to day. I am really excited for it, but we will never have this much time together ever again. Like, obviously. So I'm so thankful, and I'm trying to also like soak that up. Like I've been having this midlife crisis about filming and trying to like keep you guys in the know, but I also love like me and Carter just living and not having to worry about filming everything and doing everything. And it's so special. So yeah, anyways, okay, the last question, which I loved this question. Is this the life you always imagined for yourself in terms of relationship? Love you, girl, stay real. No. Because this relationship is even better than I could have ever imagined for myself. When I tell you that my 2 previous relationships, I was happy, I was content. I was like, okay, this could be good. If we got married, like I would live a happy life. With Carter, it is so like, I didn't even know this kind of relationship was like possible for myself. I've mentioned this before. I always thought I would be compromising on something. Like I just, in previous relationships, there was always something that I felt I was going to have to change or compromise on. And it was going to be okay. Nothing huge. Like for example, my college boyfriend, like he really wanted to live in Minnesota and I didn't, but I was like, okay, I can enjoy my life there. Like it'll be okay. And then with my last boyfriend, whatever. However, with Carter, I'm not compromising, and Carter also lifts me up like none other. Like this whole week when I've been going through this whole like content crisis, he's like, babe, you could film this, you could do this, like why don't you do that? Like he's been so helpful, and he's like, I can leave, or like I can help you film this, or did you film you cooking? I made us the marry me chicken and tortellini, and I'm like, babe, no. But he's been so sweet, and like he wants me to do so well just in everything that I do. Like I've been running, and he's like so proud of me for that. And like again, we had a hard moment yesterday. I was so emotional and I was feeling disconnected, and then he wanted to go on a walk with me, but my morning walks are like my time, and I kind of had this moment and I was like, babe, I love you, but like this is my time. It turned into like something it didn't need to. Not something it didn't need to, but I just started crying and I felt bad, but I was feeling like, I don't even know what I was feeling, but he is so reassuring. Like we stood there. It's so cliche, but like we stood there. He was like holding me. We're like face to face. And he's like, babe, I love you so much. I'm so sorry if I've ever made you feel like I don't appreciate your time. And he's just so in tune with me, and also like so me first, which I've never wanted. I didn't think, like, people want that, but you know, if family comes first, like I get that, but Carter's like, no, literally me first. Like in any situation, it's us, and like us figuring out what's best for us and how we want to do certain things. And anyway, sorry, I just went on a long side tangent, because also I want to show you guys, like, our relationship isn't perfect. That wasn't even anything. It was me being emotional, and Gordy was in the hospital. I was just like a hot goddamn mess. Anywho, this relationship is truly like, for a long time, I thought I wouldn't get married or have kids. Like, I just thought it was fake. I thought everybody was miserable because a lot of people are. I thought it doesn't actually work. But with Carter, like, I do feel very strongly that we will be together forever. We both feel so strongly about each other and making the relationship work. And honestly, I think a lot of times, I think women are naturally relationship people and lovers and will do anything to make it work. I think it's finding a good man. Like, I think men are the problem. Not actually, but I think finding like a good quality man who believes in marriage and believes in being together and working through things together and like being in tune with his feelings and respecting you. Like, I think it's not hard to come by, because I do think for the right person, like, men are that guy. So I'm so lucky, and Carter is that person, but I don't know where I was going with that. I just could not have imagined that a relationship could be this good and I could find somebody so perfectly matched for me. Like, of course, we have our different little quirks and things, but like to our core and what we believe in, that we're the same. And even the things we don't agree in, like, we have good conversations about it and respect each other's and like can move forward. It's everything. Sorry, that was just like a big Carter love fest, but he's amazing and he makes it so easy. And I think there are so many other things that are involved. Like, I've never had to worry about Carter like on social media doing inappropriate things, or he doesn't talk to like, you know, he's not like a guy who's Snapchatting or texting girls, and he's focused on work and on school. Like, he's just a good quality, strong man. And that is everything to me. And it makes me not have to worry about a goddamn thing. Like, I have never once had to think or stress, like, even in moments when you probably don't need to. Like, girls are crazy. We get jealous. We're like, oh my gosh, what if this, that, and the other? Like, never once with Carter have I ever been unsure of his feelings, thought that he could possibly be talking to somebody else, going on dates at like random, you know, the things that we worry about. Never. Like, it has since date 3 been like us and us just deciding on one another, and it's beautiful. And I think people in the right relationships can understand and like also agree with that. Like, you just click and you feel so good. And yeah, like, I would not change a thing. If Carter and I broke up, like, that would be obviously heartbreaking in and of itself, but like, oh my gosh, finding somebody else would be impossible. Like, I just don't think there is a better match for me. And that's just that. And that's why we're not going to break up. And that's why we're going to be together forever. So that's my answer. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. And thank you for the feedback on the podcast. We're still grooving. I feel like we're in this thing. I'm going to try and do, a lot of you said that you like the life update. So I've been trying to just like chit chat more about current things. And I think it's fun. And I love giving advice. But again, like, somebody did mention the questions are often similar, which I do just get a lot of the same questions. And like, my relationship and dating advice, it's kind of all the same, because like, we're all going through the same thing. So after a while, it's going to be repetitive. So I'm glad you guys enjoy the updates. That way we can chit chat and keep it new and fun and fresh. And I'm so glad you're here. And I feel so connected to you guys on the pod. Like, if somebody messages me about the podcast on Instagram, I'm like, oh, you get it. You're like in the know. We're here together. And I love it so much. Anyways, I hope you guys have the best week, and I will see you next week. Okay. Bye, guys.